Good morning, good morning, or good afternoon now. How's everybody doing? Excellent, excellent. I'm doing well. My name is David Landry. I'm one of the co-owners of Class Bookstore. We are located live in Third Ward, Houston, Texas. For those that are viewing us through streaming, welcome. For those that are here in person, welcome. We were founded in November of 2020, and we've been in this space since December of 2022. I would like to start off by saying again, thank y'all so much for coming out here for this workshop. And I was asked to give a short word on what we are about here. So I think I've done that adequately. And I want y'all to get right on into what we're here to do. So without any further delay, we're going to bring the man of the hour today. Our brother, and we can start clapping. Brother Derek Muhammad.
Thank you. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Hotep. What's going on? My name is Brother Derek Muhammad, and I first want to say, in the name of Almighty God, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that regardless of language, landmass, or label, that there is but one God. And I don't know about you, but I feel the spirit of that oneness in this room right now. I feel the presence of the Creator in this room right now. And I hope and pray that the spirit that I feel is adequately transmitted through me, through the words that we speak today. Today, we're here to have a family discussion about activism, the importance of getting involved and the importance of staying involved. Because it's one thing to get involved, but it's something different to what? Stay involved. You know, it's one thing to get married. Hello. But it's something different when you make a decision that we're going to stay married. For those of us who are watching live via Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, I want to ask you to stick with us for a little while, because there's something in what we have to say that is for everybody, because it is everybody's job to get involved and make the world that they were born in into a better place. I'm saying that when they put you in the ground, hopefully that's a long time from now. When they come to your funeral and they perform your eulogy and the rites are said over your remains, your goal, my goal, our goal is to, in some way, form, or fashion, leave the world better than we found it. Our goal is to plant seeds while we are alive that will still be growing and growing and growing long after we are gone. And one of the tools that we can use to do that is to get active. Is everybody all right? Yes, sir. Let me first talk about the word activism. Activism, it starts with ACT, act. That means you got to do something. We got some ministers and preachers in the room. In the New Testament, Paul has a book that's called the book of what? Acts. Not a book of talks, but a book of what? Which means after we have our talk should be followed up by what? Action. So the term activism, I looked it up. I hope you don't mind me looking at my notes, right? It comes from the German word Activismus and was first recorded around the early 1900s. It is a combination of active and the suffix ism, which indicates a practice or a doctrine. So this word activist didn't start being used until the early 1900s. But check this out. Harriet Tubman built the Underground Railroad in the early 1800s. So long before the term activist was used, activism was taking place. Can I get an amen? What does that mean? That means that you don't have to necessarily call yourself an activist. Harriet Tubman did not call herself an activist. She was a freedom fighter who wanted to see her people free. So the title is not what's important. What it is that you do with the title, that's what's important. And it's incumbent upon every last one of us to come to the realization that as we celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, it's easy for us to have parades for Dr. King. It's easy for us to name streets after Dr. King. It's easy for us to name schools after Dr. King and praise the dream speech and things of that nature. But what we are really being called to do is not just to praise those who did their part, but for us to be found doing ours. Now, one of the things that we have to do in our activist journey is make sure that we support Black-owned businesses. Can I get an amen? I'm going to be asking for a lot of amens today, right? And today we are in a place called Class Bookstore. Isn't this a nice bookstore? Give the owners of Class Bookstore a round of applause. And so we've come here today to host our class on activism at Class Bookstore. So what we did is we paid a small fee in order to rent space in the building. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Is that right? Because if we want to keep Black businesses open, we have to do what? Support. Not support just in name, but we have to support with our action. So you've come here today. Many of you have shopped and you've bought books and you fellowshipped and networked. So before we even got the class on activism started, we already began by practicing what we preach. Let's give Class Bookstore a round of applause for the unity that we see here today. I'm going to go back to my little notes, right? Now let's talk about activism. The definition of the word activism is the use of direct and noticeable action to achieve a result, usually a political or social one. That's the sorry definition that Webster gave, all right? Now, I wrote down some of the different types of activism because when you think of an activist, you think of somebody like myself or Brother Kofi Taharka that you might see at a protest, or you might see at a meeting raising holy hell, or you may see somewhere out doing what's called direct action. But that's not the only kind of activism. You have social justice. That's one form of activism. You've got political activism. You've got criminal justice reform. You've got economic activism. You've got educational activism. Every system in America that oppresses the people who are non-white and don't have money needs advocates to speak for those who don't feel that they have a voice. So my question to you, and it's not really a question, but it is a charge. Where will your activism land? What will you do? What are you going to engage in and put your stamp in that says that I spoke up for somebody who couldn't speak for themselves? I stood for someone who could not stand for themselves. I made a sacrifice for someone who was so ignorant they didn't even know that they needed to make a sacrifice. I did what I had to do to make life better for somebody who couldn't even do anything for me. And let me tell you something. This is not just something that you can do on the internet. I'm not discounting the internet, but the internet is just a tool. And if we use it properly, it can help us in our advocacy. But today, I need for every last one of us to make up our minds that I'm going to do my part. So, Brother Derek, where do I start? And this is what I tell young people all the time when I speak in colleges. I get asked the question, how did you get started as an activist? First of all, I didn't start as an activist. To be honest with you, I didn't even know what that was. I didn't grow up around activists. At least that's not what they call them. But as a young child, I always had a fire in my belly. All right. If you're watching on the internet, I want you to just take your right hand and touch your belly, touch your stomach, touch your stomach. Because God gives everybody a fire in the belly. Now, the fire that's in my belly, it may not be necessarily about the same issue as the fire that's in yours, but I guarantee you, you got one. You got a fire in your belly. But as a young person, I never liked bullies. I never liked bullies. I would be 10, 11, or 12 years old. And if I see a grown man picking on someone my age, I would go and try to fight the grown man, all 120 pounds of me. And then when it was over, whether I got my butt whooped or not, I'd be walking home and asking myself, Brother Purvis, why did you do that? What is wrong? What is wrong? Have you ever done something that was somewhat courageous and when it was over, it scared the hell out of you? Well, I was always that type of person. Growing up, if I saw a woman being abused, they call it domestic abuse by a man, I jump in and try to fight. It was just something in me. So as I grew older and I joined the Nation of Islam and I began to receive what's called knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and I was able to study the issues of our time, then I began to learn how to fight for my people. Not necessarily to ball up my fist and break somebody's jaw. Though every now and then, you got to do that too. But we're not here to talk about that. But I always had a fire in my belly. So it is my contention. This is Brother Derek Muhammad's philosophy. It ain't nobody else's. I believe that every human being is an activist. The problem is not enough of us are active. So there's an activist inside of you right now. It's just not active. Now you got to ask yourself the question, why? Let's talk about the black struggle for a minute. And we just got through Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, a very courageous man who was murdered, not because he had a dream, but he was murdered because he had actually waken up. Now, if you go to Memphis, Tennessee, you see the Lorraine Hotel where Dr. King was murdered. And if you go there, it's pretty well funded, at least I think it is. It's nice on the inside. They take you through it. You get to see all of these different statues and narratives. And then they take you up to Dr. King's room where he was actually murdered on the balcony. I remember going there and I had this feeling in my gut like, I don't like being here. And it came to me. Yes, they keep these things standing and alive for you to go and visit, but it's also a reminder that if and when you decide to take the risk to stand up for your people, this is what could happen to you. So many of us, we have the activist in us, but it ain't active because we're afraid. We don't want to suffer the consequences that Dr. King suffered. But guess what? You're suffering the consequences anyway. When you fail to fight the pit bull, you live to get bit by the same pit bull that you are afraid to fight. But more importantly, and I want you to listen to me well, when you know better, and you refuse to stand up for what you know, remember, you still got to look yourself in the mirror. And there's nothing like looking in the mirror and saying, win, lose, or draw, at least I stood up for what I believed in. Can I get an amen? So we're going to start with you, all right? Michael Jackson called us the man in the what? Mirror. Man in the mirror. That's me, the man in the mirror. I'm starting. In order for you to help somebody else, you got to have something to help them with. Brother Derek, I ain't got no money. I don't have an army. I don't have a huge following. Where do I start? You start with your gifts and your talents. So let's go back to the fire in the belly. And if you got pen and paper, I need you to pull out your pen and your paper, and I want you to write these 3 things down. And I know many of us don't carry pen and paper anymore, but everybody got a phone. Pull your cell phone out right now, and I want you to list 3 things. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to get your phone out, get your pen out, get your paper out. And we're going to start off 2024 with a declaration that we're going to turn up the heat in these streets, and we're going to help somebody, even people who cannot help us back. Is everybody okay? Is everybody all right? Are we comfortable? All right, good. Good energy in this room. Good energy in the room. So when people ask me, where do you start? Where do I start? I ask them, or I usually tell them, start with the thing that pisses you off the most. Excuse my language for the children in the room. All right. Start with what makes you angry. I'm talking about when you see a news report about it, you find yourself pacing back and forth in the living room, just angry, wishing you could do something to change that particular issue. For some people, it may be the abuse of children. For some, it may be police brutality. That's what it was for me. Oh, Lord. For some, it may be the abuse of animals. For some, it may be the way that our artists are portrayed in the hip hop industry, and how they take our artists who rap about consciousness, put them on the back burner, and they shove down our throats those artists who speak about death and destruction in our community. If that is what makes you angry, I need you to write that down. 3 things, 3 areas that you personally want to be able to say that you help to change. It could be homelessness. I'm just naming things. Now, once you write those 3 things down, underneath those 3 things, all right, I'm going to give y'all about 30 more seconds. And I want you to put some thought into it. We're not in a hurry. Put some thought into it. The 3 things that make you the angriest. Wives, don't put your husband down there. Husbands, don't put your wives. Do not put your children on there, okay? You already active in that fight, right? So once you've listed 3 things that just make you the angriest, now I want you to I want you to list 3 talents that you have, 3 gifts that you have, just 3 of them. Your gift may be the gift of speech. That means you may be able to articulate very well in a way to help organize people around this issue. You may be a great writer. I love to write. And if you're a great writer, then you may be able to use the pen to articulate the points and create the arguments that defend your particular cause. You may have money. And if you have money, those types of resources, then obviously you have organizations that need those types of resources. Okay, now we're going to make a decision. Where do I want to put my money in a way that I know it helps this critical issue? 3 talents. Now, underneath those 3 talents, I want you to write in really big letters, 3 letters. The first letter is T. The second letter is I. The third letter is M. Somebody tell me what the 4th one is. Time. Everybody look at me. Time is your most valuable resource. So you have to be willing to spend time in whatever area, in whatever arena where you believe that you need or you want to make a difference. If you're not willing to spend the time, then you're really not serious. And I'm going to go this far. I'm going to go as far as saying that even if you have the means to write a $10,000 check to an organization that is helping in this cause, that is still not more valuable than you spending 2 hours in helping in that cause. Time. So that means when I map out my time for 2024, when I'm laying out my calendar, I'm putting in my schedule me going to help somebody that can't help me back. Even if it's something as simple as you going to the homeless shelter and serving in the soup line. Do you know what happens to you when you go through life without helping people that can't help you back? You become selfish. And you don't really even realize it. But if you go out and you feed the homeless, guess what? It makes you grateful for the last meal that you ate. If you go out and you pass out socks or coats or something of that nature to the people who are unfortunately living underneath the bridge, it makes you more grateful, for your socks and your coat. Now, what does this gratitude do for you? It lifts your spirit because now you're focused on being grateful for what you have and not upset because your neighbor just got the new car that you want. So giving back to others is really you giving back to yourself. Am I making sense? time. You have to be willing to put in the time. If you're not willing to put in the time, then we're not going to make it. You're not going to make a difference. So every last one of us must be willing to make a sacrifice. That means you're going to have to make yourself uncomfortable in order to make somebody else what? Comfortable. And that's what a revolution is about. A revolution is about making the comfortable uncomfortable so that those who are uncomfortable can become comfortable. Is that right? Everybody okay? All right, so we've got 3 causes that's burning our belly, 3 things that have made us angry. And we have 3 of our gifts and talents that we can use in order to help in that cause. We've already decided that we can't do this if we're not willing to sacrifice the what? The time. The 4th thing that I want you to write down, which is very, very critical, is organization. Organization. Now, if you go out there and you try to do it on your own, by yourself, solo dolo, as my brother Zero would say, one deep, you may make some progress. But let me tell you something. It's a lonely world out there trying to become active by yourself. What you have to do is you have to find like-minded individuals. And when I say like-minded individuals, you have to find individuals who share the same spirit of sincerity as you. Again, you don't want to come to this work trying to figure out what you're going to get back. And that's why it's difficult for us to keep activists active. It's because we become so concerned. Now, we come to the table wondering what we're going to get back. And then when we realize that the return on investment ain't what we thought it was going to be, then we decide to go and do something else. But today, we're talking about how to get involved and stay involved. So getting involved and staying involved requires us to be organized. And guess what? One of the best ways to practice the principle of organization is to join a what? Join an organization. Join an organization that is already addressing the issue that is nearest and dearest to your heart. And when you join that organization, don't expect for things to be perfect. I heard some moaning and groaning in the audience. When you join the Panther Party, you join the National Black United Front, you join the Nation of Islam, you join the Shape Community Center, any one of the organizations. Thank you very much. Y'all got me up in here working, boy. Thank you, brother. Just put it right there. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Man, please, round of applause for my brother. Nothing like brotherhood, because I was going to sweat it out. But when we join our organizations, oftentimes what makes us want to join an organization is a meeting like this. It's a new year. We're ready to do something different. We're ready to make our mark in our community. We're fired up. Now let me go join this organization. When you join the organization, if you look at the organization's Instagram page, boy, this organization looks perfect. Look like they ain't got no problems. Then you go to the first meeting, fired up. The second meeting, ready to go. The third meeting, you show up, hey, ain't as many people here as there were before. Fourth meeting, damn, I'm the only one here. No, it usually doesn't get that bad, but the point that I'm making is when you go and you join an organization, if you have unrealistic expectations of that organization, you are not going to last. When you join an organization and you see something that needs to be done, don't ask yourself the question, why aren't they doing this? You have to have the mindset of the mentality, and the mentality that says, oh, this needs to be done. Maybe this is why the Creator sent me here to help with this. And as long as we're thinking like that, we can keep our organization strong and we can keep ourselves strong. Because what we saw a lot of during the, they call it the Black Lives Matter era, you know, when Mike Brown was murdered, you know, all of the police murders, protests all across the country, protests all across the world. We saw a lot of new activists pop up, young brothers and sisters, ready to go out, change the world, upset the system, and disrupt everything that has been oppressing us for the last 400 years. Because we were in crisis mode, right? Then as time went on, pandemic took place. You didn't see a lot of these same faces. And it was because we moved from that crisis to the pandemic, which was another crisis. Now everybody's recovering from the pandemic. So these people got involved, but I'm not quite sure if anybody taught them how to what? Stay involved. If we get involved, but we don't stay involved, then there's no continuity and struggle. You got to understand that this thing called liberation, activism, whatever you want to call it, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. People train for marathons different from when they train for sprints. When you come in prepared for the marathon, see, if you take a marathon runner and you put him in a sprint, once he finishes that 100-yard sprint, he's saying, well, where's the next race? But if you take a sprinter and you put him on the course to run a marathon, he tired before he can get around the corner because he approached it with the wrong mentality. So you got to make sure that you have it in your mind. I'm not just going to fight for my people today. I'm not just going to fight for my people this week. I'm not just going to fight for my people this month. I'm going to fight for my people until they put me in the ground. I'm going to fight until I can't fight no more. That's the mentality that we have to have. So again, we got to be organized. And one of the best ways to be organized is join an organization. So again, look at your paper, look at your notes, and look at those things, those issues that you personally want to make a contribution to, and go and find an organization that is actively involved in that and find a way to get involved. All right. Now, before we take a break, because I'm gonna have to wipe my I gotta wipe the sweat off my head. Before we take a break, I want to do just one exercise. I want you to look at the person next to you. Y'all already know each other, right? How long y'all been knowing each other? Over 20 years. Over 20 years married. Let's give OG one. And I hate identifying people by who their husband is. I be calling her sister OG all the time. She younger than me. 20 years of marriage. Boy, that's activism at work right there. But look at the person beside you and just shake the person's hand. You know, if you don't know them, ask them their name. Ask them what brought them here. Ask them about the fire in their belly. Ask them about the fire in their belly. Right. And for those of you who are watching live via YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, thank you so much for tuning in. But understand, you're not here, but we're talking to you too. So please, I didn't mean to interrupt you all. We take one more minute to meet and greet the person beside you. All right, now I'm gonna make this one last point, and then we're gonna break. We're gonna do some networking, grab something to eat, please eat the food over there, right? And grab something to drink. Everybody just kind of relax. We're in class, bookstore. Key word is store. Buy a book. From the book, what? Store. And then we're going to come back. We're going to do a couple of exercises, and then we're going to wrap up and we're going to get up out of here, right? The last thing I want to say is, Brother Kofi Taharka, could you please stand up, dear brother? Right. Yes, sir. Yeah, yes, sir. We talking about getting involved and staying involved. I asked the brother to stand. He sat right back down. Can you stay standing, please, sir? Very humble, brother. It's a point. I got a point that I'm trying to make. Brother Kofi Taharka is the national chairperson of the National Black United Front. He has the honor, the privilege, and the pleasure of responsibility of serving as the chair of the National Black United Front. Brother who's been on the front lines for as long as I can remember, and my memory is pretty good. Love you and thank you for your sacrifice. Let's give Brother Kofi a round of applause. Don't sit down yet. I want you to write this word down on your notepad. It's very important. MENTOR. I'm not spelling the word out because I don't think y'all can spell. I'm spelling the word out because I want you thinking as you're writing the word down. Brother Kofi has been one of my mentors, and he's been a very critical mentor to me because he's a big brother to me, not that much older than me, but he's a big brother to me, and he has a very watchful eye. So when he would see me in the public fighting certain fights, dealing with certain causes, I get that phone call by 6 a.m. in the morning. And, hey, brother, how you doing? Hotel. Hey, Brother Kofi, how are you? I'm just rolling over, brother. And he would always give me not just advice, but he would give me encouraging words. But more importantly, he would give me pointers. Watch out for this, though, brother. I heard you say this. You might want to be careful with that. And he did it in a way to where my ego didn't get in the way. And this brother has no idea how. See, I'm the type of person that, maybe I shouldn't say this. I'm going to say it anyway, right? I feel like if the God want to speak to me, he going to speak to me through somebody that I love and respect, and that I know love and respect me. If you send me somebody that's questionable, I may or may not listen. Well, I'm going to listen, but I may or may not follow that advice. Now, what I just said is something that's my little philosophy. Y'all don't follow that, all right? But this brother right here, I know how much he loves me. I know how much he wants to see me successful in what we do. So when he talks, I listen. His words stick to me. And I could go on and on and on right now for 30 minutes, just giving you advice that he's given me in the past. Now, he's not the only one, but he's one of the ones that have played a very critical role in my development, even though I'm still developing. So I want to say in front of all of these people in this room, if I've never said it before, I don't think I've ever said it publicly before. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Yeah, you can sit down now. Now, why did I just make a spectacle of that whole diatribe? It's because I want to get over to you the point of how important it is for you to have, how important it is for you to have someone who has already traveled the path that you're trying to travel and can help to guide you down that path even more. So if you're a football player, they tell you, man, make sure you talk to the old heads on the team in the NFL. They'll guide you the right way. If you were a young basketball player and you joined the Los Angeles Lakers, make sure you talk to LeBron. He done been through it all. Any field of endeavor that you get into, they tell you, get you a mentor. But because we don't even talk about activism in this way, then we never really get the opportunity to tell young people, find you an activist mentor. And this is very important because I was in my 20s on the front lines. Now I'm in my 50s. So now the mentee has to become a what? A mentor. And it's critical that we do that these days because, and this is probably not a popular thing to talk about, and I know this is happening in every city for those who are watching on the internet. A lot of our prime time activists that we depend on in our community, many of them are transitioning. And it's happening real fast. Every time you turn around, you look up, another brother or sister has transitioned. So now, if we've got activists who are transitioning, but we don't have activists that are being developed, then what's going to happen to the struggle? We got to start thinking like this. And we got to start encouraging our young people to get involved instead of discouraging them from getting involved for fear that they'll end up like Dr. King. That's where we are with it. Now, the other day in the Houston Chronicle, I read an article. And it said that City of Houston is going to host, if you will, the first 18-wheeler that will be driverless to go from Houston to Dallas. They're going to have 18-wheelers on the road with no drivers, right? They got this thing called AI, artificial what? Intelligence. When I was young, I wanted to get a job at the grocery store, but my flat tire was too high. I probably smelled like marijuana at the time, so they wouldn't hire me. I never knew what it was like to sack groceries. But when I go to the grocery store nowadays, they got this thing called a self-checkout line. Every time I go to the grocery store, I'm sacking my own groceries and ain't getting paid. It's like the prices of the food getting high and they making us work harder. They're using robots to replace human beings for everything. Pretty soon, if you don't have a skill that a robot cannot perform, then you won't be able to make a living. But let me tell you something. They'll make robots for everything, but they ain't gonna make no damn robot to fight for you. They're not gonna create no freedom fighters for you. They're not gonna create nobody that's gonna be an advocate for the poor. They ain't making them. So there is no artificial intelligence that will be making any type of mechanism that's gonna fight for us. If we don't do it, then it won't get done. So us who may be looking live via internet, and to those of you who are in the room, young people, we're recruiting today. We're doing it unapologetically. We don't want you to just get an education so that you can make money. We want you to educate yourself so that you can make change. We don't want you to just be another something in the system being tossed around as if though you were a nobody. The brains that God gave you, when you go to corporate America is not going to respect you for the brains that God gave you. When you go to corporate America, what they're going to do is steal all of your ideas. When you go to corporate America, all they're going to do is use you until they can't use you no more. Give you a stipend, what they call it, retirement. Yeah, and throw you back out to go somewhere and die. That's not how we want to live. Brothers and sisters, the key is to be free. The key is to be justified. The key is to have equality of opportunity. These are things that are going to make your life worth living. But guess what? You ain't going to get none of these things unless we're willing to fight. And the first thing we got to fight with is this right here. So we're going to take a break. Everybody okay? Yes. All right. I'm not the only one hot in here, am I? It's okay if I am, no. I do the work. But remember what we said. The three things, come up, there are three things that make you angry when you see it. It could be the genocide in Palestine. Notice I didn't say war in Palestine. I called it what it is, the genocide in Palestine. If that makes you angry, then that's God telling you that you have a purpose. Whatever it is, list those three things. Then I need you to write down 3 gifts and talents that you have that you can use for the liberation of the unliberated. Those 3 things. You got to be willing to spend what? Time. That means you got to put your phone down. That means, when your friend calls and say, let's go party. Nah, I got a meeting tonight at the Black House, National Black United Front. You got to give up something. And don't let nobody tell you different. This requires sacrifice. And we got to be what? Got to be organized. And if we really, really, really want to not just get involved, but stay involved, you need a what? You need a mentor. Boy, this is a good group right here, man. All right. Thank y'all so much. This is part 1. I would like for everybody at this time to just kind of, network. See who's doing what. I already called out Brother Kofi. We'll call our brother OG1 too. But there are men and women in this room that are very valuable resources when it comes to what we're talking about right now. Pull up on them. I'm talking about be all in their face. Get their phone numbers. Get their Instagram accounts. Like network. We network when it comes to everything else. Let us network in a way where we exchange information on how to make our communities better. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We'll be back in 15 minutes. Can I make a quick announcement before everybody start moving? My name is Philip Douglas. I'm the executive director and founder of Make a Chess. Come on up, bro. Where we play chess, we teach chess, but more importantly, we use chess as a tool to reteach common sense. I'm very shy, brother. You don't look shy to me, brother. So, long story short, chess is only 5% of what we do. The other 95% is taking that mind frame of a thinking opponent, of a thinking player, and applying those skills to life. So we're not out in the community doing things we know we're not supposed to be doing, therefore getting our own selves killed or getting our own self sent to prison behind our own dumb decisions. And instead of talking about the problems that we see day in and day out amongst us, when I say us, I'm looking at us. I see us. That passion that brother was talking about, I can't stand to see Black men not raising their kids. Black fatherlessness, that shit kills me. Especially with me, I'm sorry, excuse my language. Especially with me being a father and me not having my father there to raise me. So I don't know how or what I'm supposed to do to raise my babies to be good men. So I got to open my Bible. I'm reading in my Bible. That's my passion. That's that fire you spoke about, brother. You know what I mean? I can't stand gangs. Brother, but them my brothers, though. I grew up with them. Yes, sir. So I love them. Yes, sir. That's that fire he spoke about. But I'm saying all that to say, I'm looking for organizations. I just moved from Colorado, from Denver. I came from, I'm in Houston. I don't know nobody. I tapped in with my bro online like, man, I want to be of service. How can I be of service? So I'm just saying all that to say I got a business card
we got QR link and everything on it too. You know what I mean? So I am looking to connect with organizations that's out here.
So get a brother a round of applause. Brother was so passionate. He said, I gotta say it right now. But make sure we tap in with the brother. He came right up and he let you know what his passion was. Ain't no mystery as to what direction this brother wants to go in. And there are organizations in this room that could utilize your services as a chess teacher, which is really, when you teach chess, you teach about life, right? Right. So please don't hesitate, man. Pull up on that brother and get his card. Again, we'll be back in 15 minutes. If there's anybody in this room that you don't know, you better know them before I come back on this stage. I'm gonna call you out.
All right. I'm Stephanie Rucker, and I'm the director of community connections at Jericho City Church. So we do a lot of community activities and community initiatives. We work with organizations like the Houston Food Bank, Habitat for Humanity, and we're on the northeast side of Houston, the north side of Houston. So Derek is a great mentor to us, and we would love to connect with everyone in here to do more community initiatives.
We'll say something else about it.
Okay. Give me your number. I need to talk to the wife. Oh, wow.
And what I've been doing also every month, what I've been doing.
Really?
What they do inside, they'll post out there with the students. Yes, you know, I seen that picture. When they the first walk out they had. Yeah, I took that picture. Yeah. About to say. Good to see you, bro. I don't. Derek got my. Everybody don't need to know your name, no way. When he said that, I was like, boy, get it right. Yeah, Sister Rita.
Okay. And I didn't know it. I just know that's all I know. When I see it, it's everybody say that. I don't like this. That's what made me actually Oh, girl, stop. Like everyone, she was just, I was saying, when you go after people, you go on Facebook and drag them and stuff.
I was over here for he just
That's why I told you that was gonna be our seats. I was gonna move up there. Yeah, I was waiting on her slow but to get there.
All right, 5 more minutes, family. 5 more minutes, family. We're gonna fall back into class. We won't be long, but we plan to be strong. All right, family, let's start moving back toward our seats. Let's start moving back toward our seats, family. Thank you to our online audience. At this time, we will be, thank you. We'll be ending the live stream. Thank you. Peace and blessings.